Dots graphic me in the pink fuzzy hat heading level 5 first. These are the dots that passed us by. They lighten up the day heading level 5 second. My thoughts are profound. Green is my favorite color at evil.
And as you can hear, it sounds a lot more understandable, and you can visualize it a lot better as to what it is going to, or what it would look like, or how the information is structured. And to give a short conclusion, we're going to have Jeff come up here and
Microsoft PowerPoint.
turn off Sean.
So basically what we've talked about so far is accessibility and why we need to worry about it. I mean, Section 508 is all well and good, but generally it's just good practice. I mean, even if you're not, educators as we are, it's just generally a good idea to make whatever it is you're making for the web accessible to everyone. And Section 508 is just a special caveat for us as educators, just because we can be held responsible if we're not complying with Section 508 standards. There's generally sort of a checklist that goes along with it, but just following what we've shown you so far in this tech time will get you a lot farther with just creating any sort of document in terms of guidelines as far as accessibility is concerned. There are lots of different tools that you can use to improve accessibility, just to use for references. One of the main ones that we've used for our presentation is webaim.org. Webaim is like the headquarters of accessibility, so to speak. There is a section 508.gov, but it's government speak, legalese, that kind of thing. Webaim essentially kind of translates that for you and gives you a lot deeper meaning as far as what accessibility means for the web and things like that. They also have a neat validator. It's called the Wave Validator. It's kind of like an HTML validator, except that it checks whatever page that you give it according to the checklist for standards for accessibility. And it will give you hints, tips, and tricks and things that you can do to improve accessibility on your page. It'll also tell you what's wrong, what's right, and it'll give you all sorts of things like that. In reference to what we covered before regarding design, we have two tools that we use. One of them is Color Oracle that we use here. The other is Access Color. Access Color is the website where you give it, it's kind of like a validator in its own right. It'll give you more empirical data regarding the colors on your website versus contrast. We talked about, when Max mentioned color blindness and such, the idea is just to have a higher contrast between your background and your text. And as long as that is proper, then color blindness really shouldn't be an issue. Yeah, they won't see the same colors that we do, but as long as they can still see it, that's the general idea. It'll give you, Access Color will give you warnings or errors based on if things are not going up to code as far as a contrast is concerned. And Color Oracle will let you see what it looks like. Kind of like what we showed you earlier with the different pages. It'll kind of give you an overlay on your screen as to what everything that a colorblind person would see. So those are just some neat design tools. Just to sum up kind of what we showed you. We showed you how to use semantic headers. And just in case, so you know, semantic essentially means to make it readable. And what do we mean by readable? Is readable in terms of code, readable in terms of an outline, readable in terms of logic, just kind of how you should structure your document, how you should structure your information so that it makes the most sense. And headers, they're a great way of doing that just because it kind of makes it kind of like an outline. Like we showed you earlier, you have your main header, and then you have your items under it that are related to that header, and you can have items under those that are related to that, and it can kind of go backwards and forwards just like if you were making an outline for a presentation or a paper that you write. We also showed you how to format lists. This can be applied both to ordered and unordered lists. We showed you an ordered list. Or unordered is just bullets. I mean, I'm sure you've seen that 100 times. All those can be navigated through in the same fashion. It'll just say list with this or unordered list with this. We also showed you how to do tables. Generally, like we said, we wanted to show you how to do tables for tabular data, things that should belong in tables. Things like schedules or things like semesters or grade percentages and stuff like that. Generally, it's a bad idea as far as coding is concerned to use tables for format because yes, it'll look pretty, but for accessibility, it just doesn't work out. If you recall from what we read, it even read it in the backwards order. It read what should be read second, first, and vice versa. So generally, it just comes out completely screwed up. As far as images and links, we want to make sure that all of your images have alt tags. Just doing that will make it 10 times better. Just have some basic short description of what the image would look like. just something so they can have it for reference. And as long as your links have readable link text, then you won't have any problems there. So, something else we wanted to mention is that this is only the beginning. This is very, very, very much the tip of the iceberg. There are many, many more forms of disability that we as developers, we as content creators need to worry about. Not so much worry about, I suppose, just take into account. You know, there are different things like motor disabilities, cognitive disabilities, seizure disabilities, you know, things like the epilepsy warnings they put on in front of like really bright video games or anything like that. That can cause problems as far as web design is concerned. If you have a lot of moving images, a lot of fantastic colors, anything like that, you just want to make sure that anytime you're creating something, you want it to be as accessible to as many people as possible. There are also different types of screen readers that go on. The one we've used today is JAWS. It's one of the more popular ones, and it is Windows-based. Like whenever you when you have a machine, you install it on there, and it'll work for any program, including the web. There's another one that we were thinking of using. It's called Web Anywhere. It's a web browser screen reader. The thing about that is that it is free, it is for the web, and it's a good start. It's a really good reference tool if you're trying to develop for accessibility. It's a little, well, stupid. It makes some mistakes that others wouldn't. It simplifies some things that really shouldn't be simplified. It does have some more advantages in the fact that it's free and it's really lightweight, but it always is a good reference point. It's really good, you know, if you just want to see how it'll read through, it can read through the site for you just fine, and it can give you any sort of glaring errors that might be wrong as far as accessibility is concerned. It's definitely good for reference. And I believe that about wraps it up. So, do you have any questions, comments, interesting stories, snide remarks, anything like that?
Don't be shy.
So we can use cables for
Green and red blinking text.
We do have a copy of JAWS on our Tech Rangers computer. In fact, we brought the Tech Rangers main computer over here to use it in this room. So if anybody ever wants to test with JAWS, you're welcome to come over and use our projector
I
computer.
thought they were the JAWS experts.
Oh, yeah, they can help you with the shortcut.
How long did it take you to get up to speed on JAWS with some of the intricacies, navigation with it? I know that I've been around some people in the past who've started to use JAWS, and then if you're not an accomplished JAWS user, it may not be that useful to you for testing because you're not using the tool the way that someone who needed to use the tool would use the tool.
There is a learning curve, I'll give it that. Some of the more intricate things, like navigating by headers, navigating by links, navigating by pages, as far as reference, as context creators, they aren't as necessary as being able to just read through the page, you know, from start to finish. That in itself is just kind of easy to do. You can even itemize it. I mean, just using the down arrow, you can just go through the entire page. And there's one simple shortcut that uses the number pad that just has it read the whole page from start to finish. So there is a very small learning curve, yes, but overall it doesn't take that much time to learn.
Last week, Francisca and I went up to Pensacola to attend the Florida Distance Learning Association Consortium meeting. And they had a gentleman do a presentation through Illuminate from the Florida Center for Interactive Media. It was actually at FSU. Anybody heard of that before?
FSU? Yeah.
Well, yeah. Florida Center for Interactive Media. And he talked about accessibility and your presentation's better.
Glad to hear that.
What are some of the topics you would like to see next addressed regarding accessibility?
As far as you're asking us, or?
Anybody? Is anyone interested beyond just visual impairment?
Is anybody interested in like cognitive disabilities where you have to think about someone who has ADD or someone who's dyslexic?
Sure.
I think that'd be helpful.
Anything related to accessibility, I'd like it.
Nancy is pro. having it.
Yeah. I'll raise my hand to all of them. You guys did a great job.
Yes.
Any thoughts about whether or not you'd be interested more into going into the code, or was this okay using Dreamweaver showing you how to do it?
That's a good balance. Today was good
That's a
balance.
good balance. I would have liked to have known ahead of time that I need to open Dreamweaver or, open the files up prior to, because I didn't do it because I figured I would have lost something by trying to open them at the same time you were talking. So just for future reference.
Well, if at any time we need to stop or slow down or anything, just feel free to holler.
It was a great balance. You did a great job.
Thank you.
All right, well, thank you for coming.
We're hoping